I used to believe that my greatest enemy lived outside of me, in difficult people, in circumstances and betrayal, in obstacles standing between me and the life I wanted. But the longer I walked this path, the more I realized that the greatest obstacle was never outside. It was the one wearing my face, the one I called myself. For years, I tried to become stronger, smarter, more disciplined, more successful. I thought if I learned enough, suffered enough, and pushed hard enough, I would finally become the person I was meant to be. And in many ways I did. But something always remained. A voice that demanded more recognition, more certainty, more control. And eventually I understood. I was not transforming myself. I was refining my prison. Because the ego is clever, far cleverer than most people realize. It can wear any mask. It can become successful. It can become educated. It can become spiritual. It can even become humble or appear humble. It can speak about truth, awakening, and God, yet remain exactly what it has always been. The center of its own universe. That realization changed everything. Because I began to see that most paths of self-improvement are still paths for the ego. The ego becoming stronger. The ego becoming wiser. The ego adapting like a chameleon, changing colors to survive. Changing beliefs, changing language, changing identity, doing whatever is necessary to remain on the throne. And then I saw something deeper. The goal was never to perfect the ego. The goal was never to strengthen it. The goal was to make room for something beyond it, something older, something deeper, something that existed before all the masks, before the conditioning, before the fear, before the identity I inherited from the world. Because the person I called myself was assembled, built by parents, built by teachers, built by praise, built by criticism, built by survival. And what is assembled can never become eternal. It can only become more complicated. So I stopped asking, how do I improve myself? And I began asking, who is this self I am trying to improve? That question became fire. Because once you ask it honestly, the foundations begin to shake, the identities begin to crack, the certainties begin to dissolve, and you discover something unsettling. You do not truly know who you are. You know who you were taught to be. You know who you learned to become. But beneath all of that, there is something else. Something silent, something waiting, and reaching it is not easy. Because the ego does not surrender willingly. It fights, it bargains, it disguises itself as wisdom, as virtue, as spirituality. Anything to avoid the fire. Because the ego understands something. The moment it enters the fire completely, it cannot remain what it was. And that is why this path is so difficult. You cannot force the ego to disappear. The one forcing is still the ego. The one claiming victory is still the ego. The trap is perfect until one day you realize there is only one way forward. The ego must step into the fire willingly. It must accept its own dissolution. And that requires trust. Trust in something deeper than thought. Trust in something greater than fear. Trust that the soul knows what the mind cannot know. And so the fire begins, not the fire of punishment, the fire of revelation, the fire that melts iron, the fire that strips away everything false. And when it happens, life becomes strange. You no longer know who you are. The old self is dissolving. The new self has not yet emerged. You stand between worlds, between the past and the future, between identity and mystery, and it feels like death. Perhaps because, in a way, it is the death of illusion, The death of certainties, the death of the false king. Many people turn back here. The emptiness frightens them. The uncertainty frightens them. So they rebuild the old kingdom and call it growth. But the path continues only for those willing to remain in the fire. Those willing to become transparent. Those willing to lose everything false. Because what waits beyond that fire is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is not surrender. It is freedom. A life no longer ruled by fear. A life no longer driven by endless craving. A life no longer trapped inside a manufactured identity. And perhaps that is what awakening truly is. Not becoming somebody greater. Not becoming somebody special. But becoming empty enough for something eternal to shine through you. Not your image, not your story, not your ambition, but something far older, far deeper, far more real. And every day I walk this path, I understand a little more. The greatest victory is not conquering the world. The greatest victory is convincing the false king within to step willingly into the fire. And when he finally bows, the true inhabitant can finally enter.